Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and honor and hold in the light those who truly make significant contributions in our communities. I'm Gary York, and I'm grateful to be with you today. I want to thank Wilkes Communications and River Street Productions and 100.9 WIFM for this opportunity. Our featured guest today is a member, a 17-year veteran of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol. And his name is Jeff Swagger. He lives in Lenoir, and he's part of the Traffic Safety Information Group that is responsible for significant contributions and presentations with the Highway Patrol that we respect dearly. So good morning to you, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. York.
I'm so honored that you'd be with us today. So Jeff, as a trooper, how'd you get interested in being a person who takes care of the lives of people?
Well, my story started when I was 5 years of age, and it didn't start with me wanting to be a North Carolina State Trooper, ironically. When I was around the age of 5, that's when I wanted to be a firefighter. And so I never let go of that dream. So all through elementary school, and you know, as kids, we want to do different things. We want to be firefighters and astronauts and fighter plane pilots, but I just never let go of that dream. So continuously had that in my mind, pursued that. Once I turned 16, joined the volunteer fire department, and then out of high school, I went to EMT school and went on to community college to pursue a degree in fire protection, and was blessed to, at the age of 19, to become a full-time firefighter. And so that's kind of where my story started. And then I thought that's what I would do for my entire career. But through a series of events, I was blessed to work at 2 different fire departments. And through a series of events, I decided that I was going to maybe go for my second career choice, and that was to be a North Carolina State Trooper. And that's what kind of led me on that path to get to wear this uniform.
All right, let's talk about that, the process, the application, the investigations. I think it'd be a good time for us to just let people know, how do we get in? You know, how do we qualify?
Sure. So it's a long process. So from the time I decided this is what I'm going to do, then it was basically about a year-long process from the initial contact with the recruiter, and then moving through that process of completing my application and all the documents that had to be gathered for that, and submitting that, and then working through the background investigation and the physical fitness test, and all the different steps along the way to get there. So it wasn't a quick turnaround. It was some time involved in moving from that initial, I'm going to do this step, to the first day of patrol school.
So about a year, and then can you share with us the day that you heard that you'd made it?
I can. I received a letter in the mail, and that letter told me to report to the Highway Patrol Training Academy in Garner, North Carolina, 2 weeks after that point. And so I was excited, very nervous, because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, somewhat apprehensive about the training at our basic school at the training academy, and what I'd heard about that and what I'd seen, and had friends that were troopers had kind of told me what to expect, and there was nothing that they could tell me that would quite prepare me enough for what I was going to experience on that Saturday morning, when myself and 54 other cadets.
54 others.
59 others showed up on that day to begin our journey as cadets to become a North Carolina State Trooper.
And you described it as a boot camp.
It is. It's our basic school is it's paramilitary based. It's like a boot camp style for then 29 weeks. Now our basic patrol schools are 27 weeks for someone who does not have prior law enforcement experience. And for that entire time, for that 7 months, it's hit the ground running from day one, and it is everything we do is evaluated, judged, and we're held accountable for everything that we do during that entire process.
Trooper Swagger, tell us about the intensity of it. I'm sure it's intentional to the life, your career, how we're, I suppose, in the eye of the public constantly, and our demeanor and our grammar and the things, the person that we become, it has to be that way. I mean, we have the most elite group of folks known anywhere.
Well, we have a very proud heritage, and that we see from the outside is ingrained in us during that time in patrol school. And it gives us a sense of the realization that people are constantly watching us, what we're doing, how we're conducting ourselves, both on and off duty. And so the patrol school and that constant supervision, the constant scrutiny, and constant feedback of how we're performing, that just orients us to the lifestyle that we are beginning as a North Carolina State Trooper. And that's a lot of pressure, but it's a challenge. And on the end of that, we see the results, and we can see why that was so important. And it's that time and intensity and persevering through those challenges.
And how many troopers do we have today? And we need, we're going to talk a lot this morning about recruitment and encouraging youngsters, men and women, to come on board.
Yes. There's 1,780 trooper positions in North Carolina, but currently we have over 200 vacancies, and we're working hard daily to fulfill those vacancies. And we need good people. We need people that would be committed to this as not just a job, but as a career and as a lifestyle, and to come on and
calling.
Yes, to have a calling to do this, and to come on with us and help fulfill the mission that we have to protect the lives and people
That's a great
within
word,
North
the
Carolina.
mission. Way to go. You also mentioned being off duty, and when we met this morning, we started talking about all the things that you did this weekend. Just a little bit of that. I mean, you're a role model in uniform. You're a role model in other ways. Tell us about some of the things that you and your family did this weekend.
Well, I'm blessed with a great family, and they're supportive of me and what I do, and I get to support them and all that they're involved in. And so we got to enjoy some family time this weekend with my wife and her side of the family, and they live over in Wilkes County, so not too far from here, and was involved with that. Got to be involved at my church on this past Sunday, and so I'm able to lead worship services at my church. I've been involved in the music ministry for a long time, so I was able to get to do that. And then my daughters, we have two daughters, 16 and 12, and they both are big into sports, and this is volleyball season for us, so we spend a lot of time on the side of a volleyball court watching the ball go from one side to the other.
Yeah. So your wife, you said, is a counselor at a high school?
She is. She's been in the school system for over 20 years, and she's a counselor at a high school in Newton-Conover district, and so she's counselor there, enjoys getting to do that and all the challenges that come with helping students in many different ways. It could be a personal crisis that they have, and then they have school-related things such as their schedules and class choices and what they're going to do with their college and career. So she gets to work with them through that, and she also is an assistant coach of the volleyball team. So we got a lot going on in our household.
That's wonderful, so wonderful. Trooper Swagger, I saw the number on your license plate. Do you keep that number your entire career?
No, they change every year. So our license tags on the back of our cars, we receive a new one each year, and it goes down with our rank and or our seniority. So so they go down in seniority each year, and then as you're promoted, it puts you down into a lower category. But the lowest tag number is SHP 100. That's the colonel of the Highway Patrol. So
what's his name?
that's Colonel Glenn McNeil Jr.
Yeah.
And he's been a colonel for a couple of years now, and leading us. And his motto is for us to constantly be striving for excellence, and that's what we try to do each and every day that we put this uniform on and come to work and serve the citizens of our state.
Does he come around, you get to see him and talk to him?
He does. He's a very personable colonel, and he travels across the state. We'll see him at different events. We'll see him at our troop headquarters, and so he's always involved with us and what we're doing, and not just sitting in Raleigh all the time at troop headquarters. So
right.
we see him travel across the state and be involved in different things going on.
Good. Have you moved around quite a bit, or in your career?
Well, on the patrol, when I graduated patrol school, I applied. I was living in Lincoln County at the time when I applied, so I went to patrol school, and I was assigned Iredell County, so Statesville area, and I worked there for a couple of years. Got a tremendous amount of experience in those 2 years in Iredell. Just had two interstates traveling through there, I-77 and I-40, and it's a big county, and just gained a lot of experience. I'll never forget that my second day out of field training, the collision I investigated involved 7 cars, and that was an extensive investigation. And then the 5th day out of training, I investigated a collision that involved 13 vehicles. 2 of those were tractor trailers on I-77. It looked like a big mess when I got there, but just kind of worked through that. And so I gained a lot of experience when I worked in Iredell. And then I transferred to Catawba County and worked in Catawba County for about 15 years, and just rotated between day shift and night shift and third shift. And so I went through a lot of my career there, and grew in my knowledge and experience and training during that time. And then about 2 years ago, I went to our traffic safety information office for our troop, and at troop headquarters, and that's kind of given me a different role and different experiences now.
Let's get into that. I know Captain Needham, so
Yes, sir.
I went through some people to him, and a couple quick phone calls, and you're on the line. And so you're that person that the person who would help me bring you here. So let's talk about this traffic safety information arena that you're in right now.
Sure. In my role now, I have different responsibilities, and some of those are public information. So as we share, that could be information to some type of crisis that's going on, that there's a collision and blocking the interstate, offering alternate routes to folks. So it could be information such as that are in a time of crisis or emergency. But then also, I get to share a lot of presentations with different groups. And that's everything from getting to share with teen drivers, upcoming drivers in driver's education classes. So I've been multiple places, multiple high schools in Wilkes County and around the area, getting to see these teen drivers and during driver's ed, share with them my perspective and some important points that could help them as they become new drivers and things that we want them to know to help prevent them being involved in a collision and then being seriously hurt or killed as a result of that. So get to do some proactive things as far as that's concerned, and then get to speak with different groups, senior citizens groups, about winter driving tips, just a lot of different things that I get to do and be involved with. And then another element of my position is media relations, so I work with the media, putting information out about collisions and the causes of contributing circumstances to collisions, who was involved, and just the public information side of that with the media as well.
And how long have you been there?
So I've been doing that almost 2 years now.
Uh-huh.
And so that's provided a different perspective for me because I was, as a trooper working the road, I was always aware of what I was doing and then the other troopers in my county. But now that has expanded my viewpoint outside of just my county into our 10 counties in our troop, in Troop F, which is where I'm assigned, and that's the 10 counties I'm responsible for. So it's given me a perspective on all that the other troopers are involved in, some serious incidents, but also some great things that they do, and get to highlight some of those along the way as well, and just the great work that the troopers are doing across our entire area.
Trooper Swagger, you also mentioned that as a group, as a unit, that we covet our community for respect, and tell us about that, if you will.
Law enforcement is at a different place than it was when I started, and we just covet the community's support during this time and as we move forward. And we realize as law enforcement officers that we have a huge responsibility ourselves to gain and continue to keep the public's trust. So that's a huge thing on our part, and we have to work hard on our end to do that. And then one thing that we would hope to gain in return is the public's support or continued support of us. And we make thousands of traffic stops across this state every day, and in most of those, not only the highway patrol but other law enforcement officers in general, they're professional, they're courteous, we perform as we're trained to do, and those often don't get highlighted in the media and social media. So that's what we would like to focus on, and just ask for folks to continue to support law enforcement. We're out here trying to do the right thing for the right reasons, and because it is our calling, and we covet that support of the public.
Covet community support.
Yes.
I should always remember meeting you, and when you shared that'll carry me a long way. That's a wonderful way of framing the person we want to be, the unit we want to be, the team we want to be part of. So
that's exactly right. And every day when I put this uniform on, I remind myself that I'm not just walking out of my house, getting in a patrol car and representing my last name that's on my shirt. I'm representing a greater organization and a greater good, and the history behind the highway patrol and all the folks that have come before me, that because of what they did and their sacrifice and their work and they're earning the public's trust, then that responsibility is now passed on to me and my fellow troopers to continue that tradition.
The great legacy and tradition of not only being an authority but being fair, but about being compassionate, about being a helping hand. You know, I see a lot of you guys out on 77 changing tires.
Yes, sir.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of other wonderful, wonderful gifts that we give to people who are driving.
Yes, sir. It's not all about going out and just writing tickets all day long. We do a lot of work in the background that people never know about, and sometimes people are willing to share that. We'll get posts on social media of us changing a tire or helping someone who's out of gas, and that's great when we get to see that side of what we do as well, because in the end it's all about helping the public in our area. And you know,
servant's heart.
It is, and when we stop someone for a traffic violation, it's about the greater thing of we're trying to prevent collisions and reduce personal injury and reduce fatalities, and so it's about more than just that one incident. It's about the bigger picture.
We wanted to encourage recruitment today. Let's go back to maybe making a high school talk to a group of maybe a DARE class. I think that's 5th grade, but talking to kids about the character that one must have to be a North Carolina highway patrolman.
Yes, sir.
And let's talk about those mistakes, those things that can prohibit us from making it. So talk about developing that mindset of being straight up, if you will.
If we can capture the interest of children and teenagers when they're making these career choices, and then impress upon them the importance of, we don't expect perfection, because I'm not perfect, and if that's what was expected, I wouldn't be sitting here today. But there is a standard and an expectation required of us to be a law enforcement officer and be a North Carolina State Trooper. And there's often, sometimes that we see this time between when a teen graduates high school, and then they've got this time period before they can become a law enforcement officer, because that's not going to happen until they're 21. So they got this time period where maybe they're working, or maybe they go to college, and they've got some flexibility and some freedom there, and we don't want them to make a decision, a poor decision or a mistake in that time period that can prevent them from being a law enforcement officer, not only just when they're 21, but for the rest of their life. And we see that so often, and it's sad when that happens. Some folks will make just a series of wrong decisions, and that's going to disqualify them. But then we see really, really good people who we would love to have as members of our organization, but because one night at a party, or they try something one time, and then that specific thing is a disqualifier, and unfortunately, that just disqualifies them for life from being a law enforcement officer. And that's sad for us, because we do need some good people in our organization. We do have a lot of vacancies to fill, and we want to do that with great people. And it's sad when you have a really good person that just tried something one time and is like, I'm never going to do that again. But because of what they did, it disqualified them. And so we want to try to prevent that along that career path every chance we can get.
When we talk about those investigations, that we not only talk to a reference that might be listed, we look for other people. And Officer Swagger, share that with us.
So once you make it to a certain point once an applicant makes it to a certain point in the application process, well, that's time for the background investigation to begin. So that's sent. The packet is sent from Raleigh to the local district, and they'll start conducting a background investigation. And when we apply for a job, it's fill out 3 references, and we put them on there. And of course, we always, if we're a person who attends a church, we put our pastor, and we put our favorite teacher or coach at high school, and our next door neighbor. And so we always put those people or someone like that down, and we will contact those people as part of the background investigation. We will contact whoever they list, but then we go deeper than that. We'll ask those people, okay, who do you know that could tell us more about this applicant? And so we'll go talk to them, and we'll visit them in their homes or their place of business, and then we'll ask those people, now who do you know? So it kind of grows. It's kind of like a spider web. It grows out to who we're talking to, and we'll visit their high schools and talk to their not only the teacher that they listed as a reference possibly, but we'll talk to the principal and the resource officer and their coaches, and just really get a great sense of who this person is and what are they about. And again, it's not about that we are expecting perfection. It's just that we don't want any surprises later once they have gone through the process and completed patrol school and been sworn in as a law enforcement officer, and then, oh, by the way, now we find out something that was in their background that would be embarrassing to them or the organization.
Right. So that youngster, let's talk about the ages. How about size? Is that a part of it?
Size, some years ago, like a long time ago, there were some height requirements, but those have been long gone.
Okay.
So the age requirements, the applicant has to be 21 on the beginning day of patrol school, and they can be no older than 39. So it's a wide range of ages there that can be a North Carolina State Trooper on the age range. And then they have to meet certain standards as far as a physical fitness test, and they're tested on that during the application process, and then also once patrol school begins as cadets, then they're constantly reevaluated on physical fitness standards.
Okay. So let's talk about training. You've had some great opportunities to be with presidents-to-be, with sitting presidents, and tell us some of those things that you just happened to be in the right place and you were chosen to be part of the Obama trip. Or will you do that for me?
Sure. One thing I didn't realize when I began this career was the things that I consider extra special assignments, extra special responsibilities that you're right, to happen to be at the right place at the right time and blessed to be involved in different things. So as we were talking earlier, when President Obama made his trip through Wilkes County, got to be a part of that motorcade, and that was a special experience that I'll never forget, because that's not something we do every single day. And so that was something extra special. And then President Trump, as he was candidate Trump and campaigning on the campaign trail, and as he traveled in our area through North Carolina, was able to be involved in that and the motorcade with him and some different security type things. And then Vice President Pence, 2 days before the election, he was in Hickory. So I got to work at that event with the Secret Service, and that was just a special time, not only because of President Obama at the time was the current president, but then with Vice President Pence, that was 2 days before the election. So it had that extra special meaning of this was something that I got to be involved in just before that he was elected to be the vice president. So those type of things are the extra things that I've always just cherished as being special blessings as part of my career.
What an honor to have you here today. And I want to thank our sponsors, Wilkes Communications and River Street Network and WIFM. And just to have connected with you, my life will be never the same, because I've learned a lot, and I see your values and your character and your demeanor, and your great confidence and courage. So Jeff Swagger, thank you for being with us today, and what an honor. So close, if you will, with the gratitude part of being a North Carolina Highway Patrolman.
Well, thank you, Mr. York. I count it as an honor, as one of those special events in my life to get to be here with you today. And, you know, as I sit here, just as I mentioned earlier, I am honored to be here, but it's beyond just me personally, because I realize I'm sitting here wearing a gray uniform that many have worn before me, the history of the Highway Patrol, the work we do across the state, and also those who have lost their lives wearing this uniform. And I don't take for granted the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate that as myself and other troopers go out and leave our homes every day and leave our families for that time when we're scheduled to work our shift. And we don't always know that we're going to come back home, but we're willing to make that sacrifice. And it is a calling. It is for a greater good. And as we serve the citizens of the state, then we want to go out and do that honorably and every day with the loyalty, integrity, and professionalism that has been ingrained in us. And thank you again for having me. And
it's an honor to have you here. Trooper Jeff Swagger, North Carolina Highway Patrol, a 17-year veteran, and I know that with him we're in good hands, and he sets a great example for us. And so until we can meet again, look forward to wonderful people who come here and share their experience and their strength and their hope and their values, and that life is good. And Trooper Swagger is a great example of that. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Come again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.